Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Is your home like mine? It basically stops functioning if Home Assistant would ever stop running. If so, it's finally time. I've been talking about Project HA for over a year now, and there's lots of reasons why I keep postponing it, but it's finally time to get it done. So sit down and let's go over the idea of the project HA together. Then I'll have a separate video about the hardware we're going to use, and I think we're actually going to build it over the course of a few live streams. So we'll do that together. Right, let's design some high available Home Assistant or Home Assistant high available. So, the idea for the project is actually quite simple. My whole home is tied into Home Assistant. Everything from energy measurement to smart plugs, my doorbell, and basically all my lighting, and even watching TV or taking a shower. For example, I have a smart plug monitoring the usage or the power usage of my TV, and once it exits standby mode, it'll start to use more power, it automatically turns on all my amplifiers and subwoofer. Or in my bathroom, my home ventilation system automatically gets triggered once the humidity rises when someone is taking a shower, and, well, also turns it off again. I think it's pretty obvious. Home Assistant is quite important for my home functioning properly. So the idea of running it on a Raspberry Pi or even a single computer never really jived with me. What if that Pi or single computer fails? Sure, with modern storage, don't use SD cards and such, it's less likely to, but hardware can break. Even if it's something like a power adapter slowly going bad, I often see with a modem and such devices. So my idea has always been to make Home Assistant highly available, and that if something happens to a piece of hardware, I would have no issue to still control my home. First, a little bit about my installation. I don't use Zigbee or Z-Wave. I basically only have Wi-Fi devices. I do have lots of BLE sensors, but those are monitored by various ESP32 boards spread around the house, so basically also count as Wi-Fi connected devices. All my lighting, be it addressable or analog LEDs, is also all run through my own Wi-Fi controlled LED controllers or dimmers. So Wi-Fi is important to me. For that, I have 5 access points, so even if one would fail, I have spares and things like that. So in this setup, I don't have to deal with Zigbee or Z-Wave connected devices and their potential complexities. I'll try and think of ways to still make that work. Probably you just need multiple sticks, but please note I don't know the ins and outs of those type of systems since I don't use them on a regular basis myself. So what is my idea behind HA? Well, it's quite simple really. The idea is that Home Assistant is tied to running on a single host computer, or Pi, is the issue. So we need to find a way that if somehow a box fails, another box immediately takes over its function. Sadly, Home Assistant itself does not have any features for this. It can be run in some sort of primary or secondary mode, or a cluster aware mode. So natively, it does not support this function, but we can virtualize Home Assistant just fine, and then things change a little bit. Instead of a single host on which that Home Assistant VM can run, you can create a virtualization cluster that runs that VM. Now, multiple hosts can in theory run that VM, so if one fails, another one can take over its task. Traditionally, this required a lot of expensive hardware and complicated expertise though. Way back you needed to have shared storage and other complicated hardware solutions. Nowadays, things are a bit easier with software-defined storage, but even so, if you look at VMware and vSAN for instance, next to being expensive if you wanted to run that at home, it really goes way beyond what we need. So, although shared storage sounds cool, do we really care that much if we lost, say, the last 15 minutes of history stored in our Home Assistant? Personally, I don't think so. If a failover event would occur, I'd lose the logs of which switches were turned off or on and what temperature it was in the last 15 minutes. I think I'll live. And just by changing that requirement, things suddenly become a whole lot easier. Now we don't need shared storage or anything like that, but we can rely on a synchronization of that virtual machine every 15 minutes. This is where our software solution Proxmox comes in. It's a free virtualization platform, and before you ask, yes, I've tested GlusterFS and Ceph, and both come with certain downsides, like no snapshots anymore, and I didn't like that. So Proxmox is a virtualization platform that is available for free, and you can run in a cluster. And if you've watched some of my home server videos, you know that I love the ZFS file system, and it's very present in Proxmox. A little while back, Proxmox introduced virtual machine replication using ZFS snapshots over the network. This basically means that if you have a 3-node cluster, the minimum amount, per VM, you can tell Proxmox to take a quick snapshot and send that over to one or both of the other nodes over the network. Now, this isn't real time like a shared storage solution would be, but as I mentioned before, I really don't care if I only have the state of Home Assistant from max 15 minutes ago. This sync is generally very quick since it only needs to sync the change data, which normally for a HA virtual machine isn't much. So it will run just fine on a simple standard gigabit network. And well, in a nutshell, that's the idea. We're going to build a 3-node Proxmox cluster using some small but decently powerful little machines, and then run Home Assistant inside of a virtual machine that gets a snapshot every 15 minutes and is transferred to the other 2 machines over the network. If for whatever reason the host that the HA VM is running on at that time goes down, one of the other 2 nodes will start that VM right back up from its most recently replicated snapshot, and in theory, everything is back up and running again. Secretly, I've been running this setup for a few months now, after trying lots of other variations, and it's been working quite well for me. It also has other bonuses, such as making hardware maintenance much easier. I just move my critical services or VMs, like Home Assistant, to run on another machine for a little bit until I'm done, and they can be moved back. No problem whatsoever. So that's Project HA. As mentioned in the beginning, the idea is to build a complete setup of this together over the course of a few live streams. I think it will be fun to sit down and work through it together with you guys. Maybe I'll turn it into a video tutorial series, or maybe I won't. It's the part why I've been postponing it this long already, is that I never seem to be able to find the time or enough time together to make an actual tutorial video series out of it. I know what to do, it's just hard to record it all in a coherent video. So let's just sit down together and build it, and then we'll see how that comes out. One video that will come out before that, or maybe during even or after, I'm not sure yet, is a hardware comparison guide in selecting your tiny server boxes. The idea is to use these little mini PCs that are available for relatively cheap from AliExpress and Amazon. I have a variety of machines I bought for this purpose long ago, like a year, and recently, and I ran them through some tests to see the relative performance of them. A Proxmox cluster is actually very flexible, so you can even buy 2 high or medium performance nodes and a single very low performance node to just make sure you have 3 nodes, which is the minimum. So that's it already for this video. What do you think of this idea? Is it something you've thought about before, or maybe actually need? How dependent is your home on Home Assistant? For me, I literally wouldn't be able to turn on or off the lights in my studio here, since those are all run on Queen LED boards, which are, well, you guessed it, controlled by Home Assistant. Drop a comment below what funny or not so funny thing wouldn't function anymore in your home. I'd really like to know. Right, so I hope you guys will follow along, either with the video about the hardware or come join the live streams and see what we're up there. It's mostly Proxmox and server install related than really Home Assistant, but still, there will be parts of both. If not, I hope to see you back for some LED content or my upcoming Project Energy. And yeah, Hope to see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.